Hey everyone, happy Monday. Hope you're doing well so far. Today I got my bison cap going on right here. Feeling a little bit extra country than usual. But the topic for today is how to learn effectively. And, this is probably one of the biggest, things that you can do to really be successful. If you don't know how to learn effectively, then you're just going to be stupid your whole life. So you don't want to do that. Anyway, let's go ahead and check out the clip and we'll go from there. So if I'm ever trying to, let's say, design a course or learn something myself, I always bring things through this concept of listen, talk, and do. The first one, listen, means this. It means that I am not trying to get myself distracted by anything else. And this is obvious. We all know it's obvious. But even though it's obvious, half of us still think that we can get away with this. Where, let's say, we are browsing the internet with half of our attention, or we are looking at our phone sometimes, or we're doing all these other things except for why we're sitting in a chair looking at something. Listening means that you're not allowing yourself to become distracted. You're putting the phone in the other room. You are not leaving a browser open on the other monitor so that it's easy for you to go ahead and just, skip whatever it is that you're watching. Create the environment to not be distracted, and there's a good chance that you'll actually listen to whatever it is that you're trying to study. Again, half the people don't do that, if not more. And that alone will make you stand out from everyone else because everyone else is just looking at something else the entire time anyway. And as a teacher, what that means is that I want to always be putting information that's relevant in front of you as quickly as possible without rushing things, but not trying to drag on too much, not trying to be boring. Those sort of things make a huge difference in actually keeping people listening to whatever it is that they're trying to learn. The next one here is talk. And what this means is that when you learn something, let's say you learn a little chunk of information, right, from somebody else, then once you get done learning about it, then physically talk whatever it is that you just learned. And I actually mean literally talk out loud. Explain to somebody else what it is that you just learned. Talk to yourself about whatever it is that you just learned. I have sometimes just looked at my computer and pointed at the screen line by line and just talked about what each section was trying to say. But the actual process of talking out loud and not just in your head forces you to really understand on a deeper level what's going on. And so it's not enough to just listen. If you go through this talking stage, it's honestly the biggest hack that you can ever do to actually memorizing and understanding something at a deeper level all at the same time. So you might look kind of like a crazy person for talking to yourself, but this part right here, the talking part, really, really works. And then the last part here is do. And so with doing something, obviously it depends on what it is. You can't really do something if you're learning psychology, besides perhaps talking, right? That is, I guess, a form of doing something. But if you have, let's say, a tutorial for computer graphics, then go out and try a little bit of what you just saw in the program. And when you try that thing, try to do it by yourself without the help of the video. Because ideally, you don't want to rely on videos. You don't want to rely on tutorials for everything that you need to do. You want to be able to stand on your 2 feet. And that means you have to go out there and do whatever it is in order to perform properly. The same would go for, let's say, music, right? We can talk about what's happening on the guitar for a little bit, but at the end of the day, you have to actually do it for it to actually make sense in your head. So, again, listen, talk, do. If I could summarize everything on this topic into 3 words, that would be it right there. Tip number 2, study in about 10 to 15 minute chunks. because you don't have a very good attention span, and that's okay. A lot of people, they try to go against the grain on this one. They think, okay, well, I got a big test tomorrow. I'm just going to cram in 5 hours of study. And, I think that there's almost a amount of pride, like an air of like, wow, I'm part of the 5-hour club where I just, really crammed everything in for 5 hours. And now I've, made all the hard sacrifices. Then I deserve a good grade, right? None of this is true, honestly. And if you do this, you won't really actually retain the information over the long term. The fact is, our brains can only pay attention for about 10 to 15 minutes on something before it checks out. This is why I'm a huge proponent of online courses, because it's better than, let's say, a lecture you would get at a university. The fact that you can have 10 to 15 minute chunks, and that's about how I design my videos, is great, because then at the end of the video, you can stop, you can pause, let your mind wander off because it wants to. And then you can gently, again, pull it back and recollect yourself and refocus. It's really important to allow your brain to go off and to forget about whatever it was. So, I mentioned listening, right? And how you don't want to get yourself distracted. But if, let's say, you listen to a 10, 15-minute video, you then pause the video or you go do something else, walk around, come back, and then you resume, that's the best way of making sure that your attention is being used at its full capacity. Because if you just try to plow straight ahead, you're not going to retain what it is you learned. You're going to have about 15 to 20 minutes where you kind of hang in there, and then after that, it all just becomes a blur. And you won't really remember the details of stuff. If you try to talk about it, it won't really happen that easily. And so, again, 10, 15 minutes, if you're listening to something, that's about all you have. Then try to talk it out loud, walk around, talk it out loud. If you want to do it, whatever that is. If you want to try to copy it on your own, that's good as well. But recognize that you're not going to get any benefit by trying to plow through after 15 minutes. It's just not going to happen. Tip number 3, if you're not sleeping well, you're not learning well. And this is especially apparent if you've ever tried to learn, let's say, a musical instrument. I've played drums my entire life. I've played music quite a bit. And let me tell you that if I want to get better at an instrument, the best thing that I can do is be sure that I sleep really well. And this is just basic stuff. I know all of you guys know this, but half of you don't do it. So it's worth saying again. If you don't sleep well, you won't learn well. That's when your brain literally goes back through the day. It recalls everything that just happened. A lot of our dreams are just that. They're just our brain processing everything that just happened. It stores away whatever it thinks is useful, and then it kind of throws away the rest. And so if you're not sleeping well, you're not going to retain anything. You might be able to cram for that test, let's say, but give it 2 or 3 days, it's going to be completely out of your mind. And so, again, if you want to retain information, you have to sleep well. That means also, ideally, try to exercise a little bit. If you exercise well, you'll probably sleep well, and same goes for your eating. I don't know, it's basic stuff, but this is the difference between people who are successful in the long run and those who are not. So it's a big deal. Number 4, taking notes is like listening and talking at the same time. Doesn't really work. And if it does work, then it's only working because you're writing down bullet points, and what's really the point anyway? I'm not a big fan of note-taking, and this is exactly why. Because as you're writing something down, you are talking as the professor or as the teacher is talking. Instead, it's better to learn online, let's say, pause the video, write something down, and then resume the video if you want to take notes. But trying to take notes while listening at the same time isn't really listening. So there you go. Number 5, focus on the small steps. Don't overwhelm yourself with the big picture. I see this all the time. People want to get to A to Z. It's a long ways, and they're thinking about the entire journey rather than the one step that brings them forward. Set your goals to be small. Set your goals to be in like 15-minute increments. And then when you look back one day, you'll realize, oh, that wasn't so bad because every single time I took a step forward, I was looking at 15 minutes and I wasn't looking at the entire journey. And so if you are kind of a big picture thinker, this is especially true for you because you have to stay present. You have to focus on the little things that'll add up over time, and that'll prevent you from getting discouraged. And then lastly, number 6, recognize the difference between facts and concepts. You'll never be a pro if you just try to memorize the facts. So when I talk about facts and concepts, here's what I'm talking about. A fact is, well, it's just a fact. It's just a number. It's memorizing a date. I don't know, George Washington was born on this year. That's a fact. A concept goes much deeper. A concept is, as an example, George Washington's treatment of his troops says something about effective military leadership, perhaps, right? Something like that is a concept. It's not really something that you memorize. It's just something that you understand. So try to be the person that cares more about the concepts than the facts. You can find facts all day long. You can just Google whatever it is you want to Google and find facts. That's not hard. The hard part is the concepts. And this is what this looks like in Houdini, okay? And let me just show you how relevant this is because I would say most people, when it comes to learning Houdini, get this totally wrong. If, let's say you're a new student and you see a cool effect, right? You might say, I want to make XYZ effect. Cool. That's awesome. So you try to go see a tutorial on how to make XYZ effect. And you are presented the facts. The fact is you need to press this button, this button, this button, that button, right? And then you have this effect at the very end. The problem is that all along the way, while you were focused on the facts, you weren't caring about the concepts. You weren't caring about the deeper things like how does Houdini work? What is a good workflow for understanding all the different intricacies that are happening? A lot of times people will present facts, and as they're presenting the facts, they don't really tell you why they're doing certain things or why this concept is working the way it does. A lot of times people look at things as steps that I need to take to get from A to Z, but the problem with that is that they'll never become a true professional because they don't understand the deeper things about how the process works. They won't be able to improvise when they need to. There's not always going to be a tutorial that lists out the steps of A, B, C, D. I can go on and on about this, but the bottom line is, if you're somebody who cares about the concepts, then you're somebody who cares about eventually becoming professional at whatever it is that you're trying to do. As you can imagine, this is a topic that I think about all the time. I mean, I'm a professional teacher. And professional in the sense that I actually care about improving the way that I give you guys information, right? A lot of university professors and teachers, they call themselves teachers, but they don't care. They don't care about how you get distracted in the middle of their 30-minute boring lecture. They'll just tell you, well, that's your fault and you just got to try harder or something like that, right? They don't care about the medium in which you learn in. And that's really the difference between what you might get at university and something like CG Forge, where I try to design everything based around the psychology. I'm not wrapped up in all the bureaucracy and all the old outdated ways of teaching in the US educational system. I'm not involved with any of that BS. Instead, I give you 10 to 15-minute videos. I put multiple choice at the end of each chapter. I provide you guys direct support when you get stuck. All of these different things require less energy from me, from you, and you get a better educational experience while you're at it. So this is just the future way of learning things, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. I think that this is, again, it's something I'm really, really passionate about. And so I hope these things help you out. again, if you get anything from this video, listen, talk, do. That's it. All right. Things got a little spicy there towards the end. Hopefully that wasn't too ranty. But yeah, there you have it. I totally believe in all that stuff there. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to add them right now. And in the meantime, I want to show you something else that's really cool. Last night, I just got done rendering Houdini for the New Artist 2. So let me give you a sneak peek of that, because that's really fun. So we have Tweaky here. He's going to be the new guy, the new mascot for Houdini for the New Artist 2. And we got particles, we got magic effects, we got golden transformation. It's really, really fun. So anyway, I'm excited to be sharing this with you guys. The course is massively improved if you've watched the original version. And anyway, something to look out for. I'll be releasing all of that tomorrow. Or right now, actually, if you want to go to CG Forge and check out the first few videos. But we do actually have some questions, which is pretty sweet. So this one is from GK. Hey, thanks for your time. Can we expect an extension series on Solaris in production from you anytime soon? So yes, right now I don't really know what the schedule looks like to a date, but as Houdini 19 comes out, I would imagine that there's going to be a lot of developments with Solaris, and I do plan on doing a whole Houdini 19 updates section because that was really popular last time that I did that. So yeah, I don't know when that'll be because I don't know when Houdini 19 is going to officially release. But when that does, be on the lookout because I'll be making some videos. Okay, this one's from Jess. Like your hat. Thanks, darling. Like I said, I'm feeling a little extra Western today for some reason. I don't know why. Also, shout out to Raul and No Plastic. Yeah, appreciate it, you guys. Also, I'm also trying to get better at social media. So I'll be getting onto Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, a lot more so in the future. One of the ideas I have with this is to do some artist spotlights. So trying to find artists that not many people know about, but who are doing really cool stuff and letting everyone know about their work. So I'm really excited about that. Also, I like the idea of eventually sharing your guys' work through these channels. So I want to build up my Instagram, Facebook to be a good place to get your stuff out there as well eventually. And if you have any ideas on social media stuff, I'm all ears. I'm kind of in the mode of figuring out what would be useful to you all. So anyway, I think that just about does it. Oh, actually, we have another question here. This one is from Geo. It says, on the web, there are a lot of contents, but how do you suggest to filter the quality of the lessons? That's a really good question. Right now, it's kind of difficult to figure out, what's good and what's not. I think at the end of the day, you have to just ask yourself, okay, is the narration clean? Is the teacher, staying on a topic for too long? Is it kind of like really, really difficult for you to pay attention and to learn and to follow along? I think this is one of those things where you just have to trust your gut. You have to figure out what teachers do you connect with really well. I mean, the beauty of all this content out there is that you get to choose your teachers to some extent. So I would just try to find, high quality stuff and then look at the end results as well. I mean, if you don't like the way something looks at the end of the day, even if it's a technical tutorial, then, you have to ask yourself, maybe it's not worth your time. Maybe it is, but usually your professional tutorials, even if they're really technical, look really good in the thumbnail and they end up making cool stuff. Okay. I think that might be about it, but that was a really good question. Yeah, well, I think that's it for right now. Be on the lookout for that new course tomorrow. And thanks for watching.